Welcome back to The Great Adventure, a 24-session course with author and theologian Jeff Cavins. Let's begin our journey through the Bible once again.
Welcome back to The Great Adventure, a journey through the Bible. I want to welcome all of you watching on videotape around the world. We are now continuing on. We're still in the Egypt and Exodus period on page 8 in your workbook, and it's still the red bead. It's still the book of Exodus. Last week we tackled the first half of the book of Exodus with the freedom from Egypt, the Passover, the great Exodus that took place, the central redemptive event in the Old Testament. And now we move on, and we start by reviewing chapter 19 of Exodus and moving on all the way to chapter 40. And we join our family in growth on their pilgrimage. And remember that from the beginning we started with one holy couple, then we moved to one holy family with Noah in the covenant that God made with Noah. And then we moved from a family to a tribe with the covenant that God made with Abraham. And now we are going to move from a tribe to a nation, which a nation is made up of tribes. God's goal, once again, is to use his firstborn son, Israel, to be an influence on all of the nations. And so whatever happens to Israel, God always has the other people in mind. In the same way that what God says in his church today, in the Catholic Church, he says to you, keeping in mind the lost, keeping in mind those who have not heard the gospel. Your obedience is directly related to the message going out into all of the world, in the same way that Israel's obedience also would affect the rest of the world. And today we pick up in chapter 19, just a quick review. The children of Israel they've left Egypt, where they were. They could have gone right up into the land of Canaan, which is the first of the three promises to Abraham: land, royal dynasty, and worldwide blessing. But God said that it was not good that they would go straight up there, and the reason is because they couldn't handle conflict. And the minute that they had conflict, they would repent and return back to Egypt. They'd want to go back to Egypt. So God brings them down to Mount Sinai on a 3-month journey on the way down. And in chapter 19, we pick up when they settled down at Mount Sinai. Verse 1, on the third day, on the third new moon, after the people of Israel had gone forth out of the land of Egypt, on that day they came into the wilderness of Sinai. And when they set out from Rephidim and came into the wilderness of Sinai, they encamped in the wilderness, and there Israel encamped before the mountain. And Moses went up to God, and the Lord called to him out of the mountain, saying, "Thus you shall say to the house of Jacob, and tell the people of Israel, you have seen what I did to the Egyptians, and how I bore you on eagle's wings, and brought you to myself. Now therefore, if you will obey my voice and keep my commandment, you shall be my own possession among all peoples, for all the earth is mine, and you shall be to me a kingdom of priests and a holy nation." At this point in Israel's journey, they have what is called a domestic priesthood, and that means that the firstborn male of every household is acting as a priest. And so you have a nation of priests, and they are to be a light to all of the world. The people responded and said, "All that the Lord has spoken, we will do." At the end of chapter 19, the Lord calls Moses up to the top of the mountain, and Moses went up, and the Lord said to Moses, "Go down now and warn the people lest they break through to the Lord's gaze, and many of them perish." So Moses ends up coming back down from the mountain, and he comes down from the mountain with a message, and that is the law. He's going to give the people law, and law is a good thing. You know, when we think about law in America today, what do we think about? We think about stop signs and speed limits and don't do this